Welcome to Cuba, where time dances to its own beat, and every moment feels like a scene from a forgotten film. Imagine vintage Chevys gliding past faded colonial facades, drums pulsing through Havana's humid air, and streets splashed with colors so vivid they hum like a Sun Cubano melody. This isn't just a place, it's a heartbeat, a paradox, a masterpiece in motion. In Cuba, yesterday and tomorrow share the same cafe table. Revolution still lingers in the walls, but so does invention, poetry, and pride. You'll find the world's smallest bird flying over rooftops once rocked by rebellion, and world-class medicine growing in the shadow of decades-long embargo. Beneath the postcard clichés lies something raw, real, and unforgettable. Hidden beaches whisper untouched secrets. Political murals speak volumes with just a glance. And the scent of a freshly rolled cigar tells a story of generations. So whether you're drawn by history, hungry for rhythm, or chasing something rare and real, Cuba will pull you in and never quite let go. Get ready. This isn't just a trip, it's a journey into the soul of an island that refuses to be ordinary. Fact number 1. Cuba had two currencies, but not anymore. For decades, Cuba used a dual currency system, the Cuban peso, CUP, and the convertible peso, CUC. The cup was for locals, while the CUC, pegged to the US dollar, was used primarily in tourism. This duality created a unique yet confusing financial environment. Tourists often paid much more for the same items, and it led to economic inequality and complexity in everyday life. However, in 2021, Cuba abolished the CUC and transitioned to a single currency system using only the cup. This reform aimed to simplify the economy, increase transparency, and streamline wages and prices. Although the change initially sparked inflation and shortages, it marked a major step toward modernizing Cuba's financial structure. Fact number 2. Internet access is new and still limited. In Cuba, widespread internet access is a very recent development. Until around 2015, most Cubans couldn't easily go online. Home internet was nearly non-existent, and Wi-Fi hotspots were rare and expensive. People would gather at public parks where Wi-Fi was available, often crowded together at night just to connect. Today, things are changing rapidly. Mobile data was introduced in 2018, and now many Cubans access the internet through smartphones. Still, access remains costly compared to average wages, and online content is often restricted or censored. Social media and messaging apps are popular but monitored. Despite limitations, the internet has become a crucial tool for communication, creativity, and even activism. Fact number 3. Cuba has one of the best healthcare systems in the world. Despite being a developing country, Cuba boasts one of the most admired healthcare systems globally. Healthcare is completely free for all citizens, including medical visits, surgeries, and medications. The country has one of the highest doctor-to-patient ratios in the world, and its focus on preventative care means many illnesses are treated before they become serious. Cuba's medical professionals are highly trained, and the country exports thousands of doctors to other nations through its medical diplomacy program. During global crises like the Ebola outbreak and COVID-19, Cuban doctors were among the first to help abroad. The success of Cuba's healthcare system is often attributed to its socialist policies and strong emphasis on education. While hospitals may lack some modern equipment due to embargo-related shortages, the quality of care remains remarkably high. It's a system that prioritizes people over profit, and it's earned international respect for doing so. Fact number 4. American cars from the 1950s still rule the roads. A trip to Cuba is like stepping into a time machine, especially when it comes to cars. Due to the U.S. embargo that began in 1960, Cuba stopped receiving American automobiles and parts. As a result, 1950s American cars like Chevrolets, Buicks, and Fords are still on the streets. These yank tanks, or máquinas, have become iconic symbols of Cuban culture. Many are beautifully maintained, passed down through generations, and kept running with ingenious repairs using homemade or Soviet-era parts. Today, they serve not just as transportation, but also as tourist attractions. Tourists often pay to cruise through Havana in a pink convertible or a turquoise hardtop from another era. Despite newer imports appearing on the roads in recent years, these classic cars remain a rolling testament to Cuban resourcefulness and a vivid reminder of the country's unique political and economic history. Fact number 5. Education is free and mandatory. Education in Cuba is not just free, it's mandatory. From preschool through university, Cubans don't pay tuition. In fact, Cuba has one of the highest literacy rates in the world, estimated at over 99%. After the 1959 revolution, Fidel Castro made education a national priority. Thousands of teachers were trained and sent into rural areas during the literacy campaign, drastically improving reading and writing levels across the country. Today, education is still deeply valued, with a strong emphasis on science, medicine, and the arts. Students even receive uniforms and meals at school. Higher education is also free, though admission is competitive and based on academic performance. While some resources and infrastructure may be outdated due to economic constraints, the commitment to universal education remains a cornerstone of Cuban society. It's one of the most successful social programs in the country and a big point of national pride. Fact number 6. Cuba is home to the world's smallest bird. Cuba is home to the bee hummingbird, the smallest bird on Earth. This tiny creature measures just 5 to 6 centimeters, about 2 inches, in length and weighs less than a dime. Known locally as the zunzuncito, this bird is often mistaken for a bee because of its size and rapid wing beats, up to 80 times per second. Despite its size, the bee hummingbird plays a big role in pollination and is crucial to Cuba's ecosystem. You'll find it fluttering among tropical flowers in the countryside, especially in the eastern parts of the island. It's rare and hard to spot, making it a dream for birdwatchers and nature lovers. The bee hummingbird is a symbol of Cuba's rich biodiversity. In a country full of bold colors, rhythms, and history, it's incredible that one of its most amazing natural wonders is also one of the tiniest animals on Earth. Fact number 7. Cuba is one of the safest countries in the Americas. Despite economic hardships, Cuba remains one of the safest countries in Latin America. Violent crime is extremely rare, especially compared to neighboring nations. Tourists can walk around major cities like Havana or Santiago de Cuba at night without much fear. Guns are heavily restricted, and the police presence is strong. Part of this safety comes from the country's strict law enforcement and tight control over civil society. Another factor is the strong community culture. Neighbors know each other and look out for one another. While petty theft can happen, especially in tourist areas, it's far less common than in many other destinations. This safety makes Cuba especially appealing for solo travelers and families. Whether you're wandering cobbled streets in Old Havana or exploring rural areas, you'll likely feel secure. Fact number 8. Cuba has a city frozen in time, Old Havana. Old Havana, or La Habana Vieja, is one of the most well-preserved colonial cities in the world. Founded in 1519 by the Spanish, it became a bustling port city in the Caribbean. Walking its cobblestone streets is like traveling back centuries. You'll see colorful Spanish-style buildings, Baroque cathedrals, and grand plazas filled with music and life. This UNESCO World Heritage Site is also full of contradictions. Classic American cars cruise past 18th century balconies, and horse-drawn carriages roll beside Wi-Fi hotspots. Despite years of economic hardship, the government has heavily invested in preserving the area's architectural heritage. It's both a living museum and a vibrant urban space. Musicians play live in the plazas, while locals hang laundry from centuries-old balconies. If you visit Cuba, Old Havana is the heartbeat of its history and culture, where the past is not only remembered, but lived every day. Fact number 9. Cuba has the highest number of doctors per capita. Cuba is globally known for having the highest doctor-to-population ratio in the world. With over 8 doctors per 1,000 people, the island nation surpasses many wealthier countries. This abundance isn't accidental. It's the result of Cuba's socialist focus on education and public health. After the revolution, Fidel Castro made medical training free and widespread. Today, Cuba trains not only its own citizens, but also thousands of foreign students at the Latin American School of Medicine. Cuban doctors are even sent abroad to provide humanitarian aid in over 60 countries. During emergencies, they're often first on the scene, from Haiti's earthquake to Italy's COVID-19 crisis. While Cuban hospitals can lack modern equipment due to embargo-related shortages, the country's emphasis on training and preventive care has created a healthcare system that punches well above its weight. In a world where healthcare often depends on income, Cuba stands out dramatically. Fact number 10. Cuba invented the world-famous Mojito. The iconic Mojito, a mix of white rum, lime, mint, sugar, and soda water, was born in Cuba. Its origins trace back to the 16th century when locals made a drink called El Drac, named after English pirate Sir Francis Drake. That early version used aguardiente, a raw form of rum, lime juice, and mint to treat dysentery and scurvy. Over time, the recipe evolved into the refreshing cocktail we know today. The Mojito became globally famous thanks to Ernest Hemingway, who often enjoyed it at La Bodeguita del Medio, a legendary Havana bar. Now, mojitos are served in bars worldwide, but nowhere do they taste quite like they do in Cuba. Fact number 11. Cuba has no advertising billboards. Look around Cuban cities and highways, and you'll notice something striking. There are no commercial billboards. In a world dominated by ads, Cuba stands out as nearly ad-free. Instead of marketing fast food or fashion, Cuban billboards display revolutionary slogans, portraits of heroes like Che Guevara and José Martí, or messages promoting socialism and unity. This stems from the country's state-run economy and control over mass communication. Fact number 12. Cubans drive Ladas and Soviet-era cars too. While 1950s American classics steal the spotlight, Soviet-era vehicles also dominate Cuban roads. Brands like Lada, Moskvich, and Volga are everywhere. These cars arrived during the Cold War, when the Soviet Union became Cuba's main ally and trade partner. From the 1970s to the 1980s, the USSR sent thousands of vehicles, tractors, and buses to support the Cuban economy. Cubans quickly adapted, learning to repair and maintain them with whatever spare parts they could find or improvise. Even today, many Ladas are still in use, often painted in bright colors or repurposed as taxis. It's another example of Cuban resilience and creativity in the face of scarcity. While newer models have entered the market, these Soviet cars remain a vital part of daily life. They're less flashy than the classic Chevys, but just as iconic in their own way. They tell a different story, one of endurance, not nostalgia. Fact number 13. Cuba has a massive underground art scene. Despite censorship and government control, Cuba has a thriving underground art scene. In places like Havana, Trinidad, and Matanzas, artists push creative boundaries in everything from painting and sculpture to music and digital art. Some operate within government-approved venues, while others showcase their work in private homes or informal galleries. One standout is Fábrica de Arte Cubano, a multi-level art space in a former factory blending nightlife with visual and performing arts. Cuban artists often use their work to comment on social issues, identity, and the contradictions of daily life. Because the state controls most media, art becomes a powerful way to express ideas that can't be said openly. Fact number 14. Cigars are more than just a product. They're a ritual. Cuban cigars are famous worldwide, but in Cuba, they're more than just tobacco. They're a tradition, a symbol, and almost a religion. The island's climate, soil, and centuries of expertise make Cuban cigars like Cohiba, Monte Cristo, and Partagas highly sought after. But the process is just as fascinating as the product. Tobacco leaves are carefully hand-picked, fermented, and rolled by expert torcedores, master rollers trained for years. In factories, workers even read aloud to rollers to keep them entertained, a tradition dating back to the 1800s. Smoking a cigar in Cuba isn't rushed, it's savored, usually with a strong coffee or aged rum. Many locals view cigars as cultural heritage. Fact number 15. Cuba is the birthplace of salsa, rumba, and son. Cuba is one of the most musically influential countries in the world. Genres like salsa, rumba, son cubano, and mambo all trace their roots to the island. Cuban music is a fusion of African rhythms, Spanish melodies, and indigenous traditions, creating rich, rhythmic sounds that have influenced artists across the globe. Son cubano, in particular, is the ancestor of salsa and was popularized internationally by bands like the Buena Vista Social Club. Music in Cuba is a way of life, heard on every street, in every cafe, and inside every home. Instruments like the tres guitar, bongos, and claves are essential, and dancing is practically mandatory. Cuba is more than cigars and classic cars. It's a living, breathing story of resilience, rhythm, and rich tradition. From its world-class healthcare to its underground art scene and revolutionary spirit, every corner of the island holds something extraordinary. Whether you're inspired to visit someday or just fascinated by its complexity, one thing's clear: Cuba is truly one of a kind. If you enjoyed this journey through its most mind-blowing facts, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the world's most unique countries. Got a favorite fact or one we missed? Drop it in the comments below. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and never stop discovering the incredible stories that shape our world.